Evening, Andrew.
Okay, I will call our executive session meeting to order and let the record show that all the board members are here except for President Logan, who should be here shortly. The first thing I guess we have to do is remote meeting determination. So I will go ahead and just make the motion that the board approve resolution 01-2022, making findings to permit the continuance of remote board meeting in compliance with AB 361.
Move approval.
So did I have a roll? I see. I made the motion. Who seconded?
I will.
Okay. Dr. English seconded the motion. So could I have a roll call, please?
Directors Peterson,
Aye.
English,
Aye.
Bardonish,
Aye.
Giardini,
Yes.
and Logan.
Aye,
Oh, you made it.
I did.
All right, just in time. Go.
Okay, so I'm assuming that we did the roll call.
Yes.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the remote meeting determination, and this is.
We
for
did
the-
that.
You did that as well?
Yep. You just voted aye for it.
Ah, okay. All right, then we're ready for public comments, and I don't see that we have any members of the public on this call. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Looks like it's just us. So we'll move on to adjourn to closed session. And with that, I'm going to turn it over 7 o'clock. So let's go ahead and resume our call. And good evening. This is the meeting of the Templeton Community Service District Board of Directors. And today is Tuesday, January 18th, 2021. And with that, I'd like to ask that there be a roll call.
Directors English,
Here.
Bardonish,
Aye, here.
Giardini,
Here.
Logan,
Here.
and Peterson.
Here.
Okay, with that, if you would, please mute your phone and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, would any directors like to change the order of business this evening? Okay, I think we only have one item on our under new business anyway. With that, I'll move to the special reports and presentation, and I think we have the introduction of our new utilities manager, Justin Black. And with that, I'll turn it over to the general manager just to give some introductory comments.
Yes, thank you much. I just wanted to, I might have missed it, Board President Logan, but did you do the, did you note that there was no reportable action coming out of closed session?
Thank you. Thank you. So the board did have a closed session meeting prior to this meeting. And as the general manager has indicated, there was no reportable action taken during that meeting. So thank you for that.
Thank you much. Well, I'm pleased tonight to introduce Justin Black. Justin is the guy that you probably hadn't seen before on the screen here tonight. And I'll just start by saying I've not seen Justin wear a tie to the wastewater treatment plant. And so I'm hoping this is not a regular occurrence for him. I don't want the dry cleaning bill to be going to get any higher. So, but I'm really thrilled to introduce Justin. As you know, I've kept you informed that Justin actually began his work with the district on December 14th. So he's been here about this might be week 6 now, and all through the holidays. Justin, excuse me, Justin comes to us with a wealth of municipal public works experience, including work many years ago for the cities of Sunnyvale and San Luis Obispo. Just prior to joining Templeton CSD, he spent 17 years at the city of Atascadero, the last half or so of which was as the operations manager for utilities. Justin has a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies from Cal Poly, and he maintains a grade 4 wastewater treatment plant operator's certificate. Justin is also in the process of obtaining both his water treatment and water distribution certifications. It's been a great honor to be working with Justin, and I'd like you to join me in welcoming him, although again, he's been here about 5 weeks.
So welcome. We are more than happy to have you here, Justin. So we're excited to welcome you aboard. And I think the general manager should spend more time at the wastewater treatment plant. He'd probably find that everybody's wearing ties now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And with that, I don't know if any other directors have comments that they would like to address to Justin. I know we're thrilled when we have new hires on board. Yes, Director English.
Yeah, welcome, Justin. And I too don't know the last time I saw you with a tie. That's impressive for this evening. You know, I just want to let everybody know I have utmost respect for Justin. I was a coworker with him for a number of years. He's an exceptional employee as well as an exceptional human being. We're fortunate to have him on our team. You know, we were very concerned about losing Frank because Frank was, you know, just very good at his job. We are very fortunate as well to have Justin on our team now. You know, just as strong in many ways, but strengths in other areas as well. So welcome aboard, Justin. I'm glad you joined the team.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Director Peterson.
Yeah, welcome, Justin. I've heard all kinds of good things about you, so everything is going up from here. And welcome aboard.
That's right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Director Giorgini. I think you're on.
Just welcome, and as long as us women don't have to start wearing ties, I'm okay with Justin
I
wearing
have
them.
one on.
Sounds good to me.
I'll never wear a tie again. I get it. I get it. This is the first and only time.
Oh God, we've shamed you into never wearing a tie again. Great. Okay. Well, welcome, Justin. Take care.
Okay. Director Fardanish.
Hi, Justin. I've already met you. I think it was on your first day of work. But I was very impressed. Just on your first day, you were very calm, collective, and you look like a great leader. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you could do with our facilities, and I'm looking forward to your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it true the tie came with a job?
This is not true. This is a bad rumor because Justin has worn a tie before. I can only speak to one other occasion, but when he did interview, I'm fairly certain he had a tie on. So this is not his first tie. That was only about 3-4 months ago. So, but there is again, I just we're thrilled to have Justin here. I can't. He's going to bring a whole new perspective. He's brought a whole new perspective, I should say, and it's fitting in really well. Getting great support from the team. And I appreciate all of the board members' comments about Justin, and I hope that you'll get to see him again soon, maybe with or without a tie, and that you'll be seeing him for a long time to come.
Sounds good. Well, we're pleased to have you, Justin, and hopefully, I think you've been on the job for what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited as well. I wanted to express to the board my appreciation for this opportunity and in serving the community of Templeton and working for the district. I wanted to recognize the years of service of Frank Sprague, decades. He worked for the district and supported the community. I wanted to acknowledge the care that was given to me by Mr. Jeff Briltz and the team at the district. Great help, great care received all through the process, and then welcoming me into the team as well. I've gotten to know the small crew, the utility staff, over the past 4 or 5 weeks, and it's a great group, small group. I look forward to working with them and supporting the community of Templeton with services and with products that will, take care of the community in the here and into the future. This position has a great deal of responsibility that comes along with it, and I take it very seriously. And I wanted the board to know that I'm going to be doing my utmost to support, protect, serve the community of Templeton. And I just wanted to thank you just to say thanks. It's great to be here. I'm so excited.
Well, we're excited to have you. And certainly, I think you'll find that the district staff is phenomenal. So we're proud of the staff that supports the community. So welcome to the team. We're happy to have you. So I'm sure we'll look forward to more conversations with you in the future. So Director Fardanish and I both serve on the wastewater committee. So we'll be more in touch with you in the future going forward.
Wonderful.
Okay, with that, I'm going to move to our portion of our meeting, which is for public comments. And this is where members of the public may address the board on any item of interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, which is not on tonight's agenda. And in compliance with the Brown Act, the board cannot discuss or act on any item not on the agenda. However, board members or district staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by the public. Additionally, on their own initiative or in response to questions posed by the public, a board member or staff member may ask a question for clarification. Further, the board may respond to staff or may request that staff report back to the body at a subsequent meeting concerning any matters or to take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. And I say this because we do have one member of the public, Joe Wadji, who's on the call this evening. So Joe, this is your opportunity to address the board. If there's any items that you would like to bring forward, which is not on tonight's agenda, which is still within the jurisdiction of the board. And with that, you have the floor. If so, if not, we'll move on, but I'll open it up to you, Joe, to address the board. Okay, with that, hearing and seeing no comments. Director English, I thought you raised your hand. Did you have a comment or a question?
There's somebody else on the line named Jim. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I thank you for pointing that out. I didn't. When I don't see the face, I just see Joe's name. So Jim, I'll also direct this to you as well, since you are a member of the public on tonight's call. And if you do have a comment, please just introduce yourself. Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll close our public comments and move to the consent agenda. We have 2 items on tonight's consent agenda. The first item is the minutes, and this is for the board to consider adoption of the regularly scheduled minutes of the December 21st, 2021 board meeting. The second item is the treasurer's report, and this is to consider approving the November 2021 treasurer's report. Do any members of the board have comments or questions regarding these two items? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to members of the public. If members of the public have comments or questions regarding the minutes of December 21st, 2021, or the Treasury's report, you may ask your question at this point in time. Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll move it back to the board to consider approval of the consent agenda. So I'll make the motion that the board approve the consent agenda items A and B, the minutes of the December 21st, 2021 meeting, and the Treasury's report for November 2021.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Director Logan, second by Director Giardini. Can we have a roll call, please?
Directors Logan,
Aye.
Giardini,
Aye.
English,
Yes.
Bardonish,
Aye.
and Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes 5-0. So the consent agenda is approved. Moving on to our norms and code of ethics. This is something that we regularly do at every meeting, and this is that the TCSD Board of Directors has adopted operating principles consisting of processing norms and code of ethics. And the board is committed to the practice of these norms and code of ethics to set the standards for communication, process, relationships, and capacity norms. And for this evening, I have selected one of the code of ethics, which is 4010-1-2, which reads, "We shall be responsive and attentive in listening and engaged in all communications." And this is just as a reminder for the board to recite one of these code of ethics or norms as a reminder of our commitment. So with that, I'll move to our first item of business, which is the internal committees of the board and the existing standing committees. And this is where, if you recall, following our last meeting of December 21st, General Manager Brilt sent an email to all the board of directors asking for what your preference is in terms of the committees that you serve. Based on that feedback that came back to the general manager, I'm hearing that no board member had a strong preference for making any changes to the committees that were previously assigned for 2021. So with that, I've made no changes to the internal committees nor the external committee organization assignments. So just to reiterate, the admin finance committee, it's Director Giardini and Director Peterson who are assigned to that particular committee. Facilities is assigned to myself and Director Bardonish. Fire and Emergency Management is Director Giardini himself. Park, Recreation, and Refuge is assigned to Director Bardonish and Director Peterson. Our external committee assignments is the Nacimiento Commission is Director Peterson. The Templeton Area Advisory Group is Director English. The Templeton Rec Foundation is Director English. The Water Resource Advisory Committee is myself with Tina Mayer, our engineer, as an alternate. And the GSA Executive Committee is Director Bardonish. So that is just reporting out that we're keeping the same assignments. When the committees meet for the first time, they will then vote on who the chairperson will be for that committee going forward. Any comments or questions? Okay, any comments or questions from members of the public? And if so, just introduce yourself. Okay, hearing none, we'll move to our general manager's report, and I'll turn it over to General Manager Briltz.
Yes, thank you very much. Two items to report on, both a little bit detailed. One, we last fall kind of ceased providing regular COVID agenda items to provide updates because we kind of there wasn't a whole lot new to share. And but this time there is a number of items that I wanted to call to your attention. We do have 2 employees out today with COVID-like symptoms. I don't have confirmation that they have COVID. We did last week have a couple of employees quarantining due to close family members or close exposure contacts. The CDC and then later the state released new guidelines for return to work. They're not identical to what the CDC has for returning to society, so to speak. They're a little more stringent. So I updated our COVID response plan last Friday to incorporate those new guidelines, which took effect that day, and issued that to all employees, and you were CC'd on that that correspondence. Just for your general interest, there's a website that opened up today through the federal government that allows you to order, I believe, 4 no-cost at-home test kits, and so you may want to do that if that's something you've been searching for. They remain difficult to come by locally. On behalf of the district, I'm ordering some for us to have for employees who may need to receive a test before returning to work, because I've ran into already a couple circumstances where employees didn't have them, and I've been fortunate to have a few at home and make them available, but I want to make sure we always have those since they are hard to come by. Starting last Saturday, all of your health insurance is supposed to be reimbursing us collectively, any of us who buys up to, I believe, 8 a month. Although I've been scrubbing our own health plan for the district, and there isn't yet instructions on how to request such a reimbursement. I just do make note that we were fortunate to get through last week, given some quarantining issues and whatnot. We didn't have any impacts to district services or office hours, that kind of thing, but we may need to make changes on short notice if we end up losing a number of folks during this current surge due to the quarantine requirements. I will say, just out of sort of my personal concerns, the CDC's guidance about returning to sort of society after 5 days, of course, being masked for the next 5, that doesn't align with the state's return to work. The need to test negative is going to become problematic. Lots of people test positive after the 5 days. I have 2 family members right now who have COVID. They're not staying with me, but they've been not very ill, have had it for more than 5 days, and are still testing positive. So technically they would not be eligible to return to work, even though they've satisfied the CDC's sort of wait period. So I'm not sure how much this 5-day quarantine or isolation period is going to be helping us in terms of getting employees back to work if they continue to test positive. The big issue right now is the testing. The free county testing is very, very slow. About 2-3 weeks ago, it was taking folks about 24 to 48 hours to get results. It's now been, I know we had an employee tested on Friday and still do not have the results of the county run PCR tests. So we're kind of right back where we were at the very beginning, where the tests are hard to come by and take a long time. So that's probably going to pose some challenges for us going forward. I'll keep you posted if the district needs to change any services as a result of illness or the need to quarantine or isolate, such as closing of office hours or something like that. Again, we've been able to avoid it thus far and remain open, but we had kind of a close call last week just with running out of bodies. The other item, and perhaps one that you're more interested in, that I wanted to call to your attention is relates to the discontinuance of water service for non-payment. As you may recall, just prior in the winter of 2020, just prior to COVID, the district, as a result of SB 998, a new law that took effect that year, required the district to update its policies and provide essentially sort of more notice. It used to be that persons would fall like 1 month behind or about 6 weeks, and they would get a water shut off. The water could be shut off, and we were doing shut off. We're going through the process monthly. Most months prior to COVID, we would only shut off 0 to 2 or 3 accounts a month. It was pretty manageable. When COVID hit, the governor issued an executive order, which was extended repeatedly during the past couple of 21 months or so, that prohibited utilities from shutting off essential services like water. So for the past many months, nearly 2 years now, we have not conducted shutoffs for non-payment. We've been diligent about collecting payments, reminding folks that not to get too far behind, etc. You may recall in the summer we did a tax lien on a small number. I want to say it was about 24 properties where the balances where they were more than 60 days behind. But the executive order for the no shut off water service ended ended in December 31st. So we're back to implementing our process. We notified 75 account holders via door tag and then subsequent phone calls of their status about 2 weeks ago, at the very first of the year. And the new process requires a 7 business day notification. That was the 7 business day notification. These contacts were already more than 60 days behind at that time. Of those 75, 32 remain behind. We're scheduled to start the shutoffs as soon as tomorrow. We've had a couple of little glitches with our utility billing system in implementing this new procedure because it follows, like 20 months of not doing the shutoff procedure. So that may be delayed a day or two. And we may decide to ultimately to provide another form of written notification to the homes as sort of a final warning this very first time. Of those 75, 32 remain. Between 5 and 8 have made requests to enter into payment plans, which we've prepared, but they need to come and make the first payment and sign them. So the number that are scheduled to be shut off again this week, I'll say this week, if we are able to proceed, will likely be in the neighborhood of 25 to 27. That's a big number, and it will be that'll be a lot of customers to deal with who don't have water service. Again, we typically, rewinding the clock a couple years, we would typically shut off like no more than 2 or 3 in a given month. So we may decide because of that number to just tackle the ones that have the largest balances first, just so we can make sure, so we're able to manage the number of accounts being shut off and restarted. We want to minimize conflicts between our staff members who are shutting these off and then ultimately having to restart them. That is kind of inevitable that will occur, and make sure we have the resources available to handle both the shut off and what we hope would be a pretty quick resumption of services. Just so you're aware, some of the accounts that are due for shut off are behind. Let's see, I'm just looking at the list now. I have 1, 2, 3 residential accounts that are more than $1,000 behind. There are more than $1,000 and some as high as $1,800 that are 60 days old. So they really are more like, add a couple $100 to that in all likelihood to become current. And once the water gets shut off, the policy requires them to become current before they can be turned back on. So we have a number of other, probably another dozen accounts that are between $600 and $1,000. So it's while the total number of accounts is not unmanageable, it's far more than we would have seen under normal circumstances. I'm happy to take questions on either topic.
So I have a question regarding that. Does our communication let the individual know that the, for lack of better words, the moratorium on withholding or ended December 31st? And do we also, in our communication, offer payment arrangements? Do we make that known as well?
Yes, on both. So we issued door tags with, we attached the district's adopted policy to a door tag, which goes into a number of options that they have. You know, under certain circumstances, we're unable to shut off the water. For example, if they have like a medical condition or whatnot, and obviously they can make payment arrangements. And then the door tag that was attached actually has a label on it that states that the order that prohibited the shutoff ended December 31st, and that shutoffs will be resuming on January 20th. And then again invites them to make arrangements with us. And again, I would, you know, we were at 75 2 weeks ago. We're at 32 now, so we're almost, you know, that's almost there. We got more than half have come up with something, with another 5 to 8 pending some sort of arrangement. Now, if they break their arrangement, they end up sort of back on the shutoff list. So even if we do this more slowly, it will probably take some time to resolve these folks entirely.
Well, I just want to make sure that there's ample notification and understanding, since there's been so much time that's been given to these individuals. Do we know, are any of these businesses, or are they all residential?
I'm looking at the addresses that I have a list here for. I believe they're all residential, or at least the vast majority are residential accounts. They're residential addresses anyways.
Okay.
I don't recognize any business street names.
Okay, and I know Director Fardanish and Director English, you both have your hands up, but Director Fardanish, I'll go to you first since you had yours up first.
Thank you. Do we know if they are, because I know, I guess, last cycle, we did some tax lien because of some of them were tenants. Are any of these new accounts are held by tenants?
Yes, a number of them are held by tenants.
And then, so do we notify the landlords as well,
Yes.
or property owners as well? So the property owners know?
Yes, and of the 3 of the 32 that I'm looking at are vacant homes. There's probably no impact to anybody in the short term. Obviously, somebody has got to make good on the amount that's owed to get the water service restored. Those were landlord owned and have since become vacant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them appear, based on the information I have in front of me, to be renters or tenants. So yeah, some are tenants.
Okay.
And many of these would have become, you know, they've been in various states of behind over the pandemic. You know, some were further behind. We had issued notice prior to placing the tax liens. A number of people caught up, or at least caught up significantly by then. Some of these accounts were not behind at the time that we did the tax lien, but have since fallen behind. So
those that are tenants, so why are you shutting the waters down instead of just making a tax lien, doing a tax?
Yeah, we're only able to do the tax lien once a year during the tax cycle. So the county won't process a tax lien until the next tax year. So we do run the risk, if we do not do a shut off and we allow the count to build up, we do run the risk of the property changing hands, selling, and then being unable to collect.
Okay, all right.
So the tax lien is a tool, but it's not available to us all the time.
Okay, it's just the timing then. Okay, and then one last question: are you going to shut the water off on Friday, or are you going to like stop on Thursday?
Yeah, we'll make sure we have that ability to restart it before we decide to shut it off, and we'll coordinate this with our utilities manager to make sure we have staffing available to restart it. We don't want anyone to be out of water over the weekend. Like I said, we were having some issues earlier in the day that up until about 4 o'clock, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to proceed with it this week. But my concern is that we've followed our policy, we've given notification, and what I don't want to do is tell folks that we're going to shut their water off and then not shut their water off and make people believe that what we say isn't going to actually occur, and it's just going to lead to more problems. It took us a long time to get folks to people used to use the 48-hour notice as like a payment reminder. So it took a long time to get people to say that, wait, this is because you haven't paid, you're way behind, you're about to be shut off, and this is costing you money to have this placed on your door. So don't wait until then. But this is still a much larger number than we've been accustomed to. And whenever we start the process, whether it happens tomorrow or we do another round of notifications, if we're unable to do this tomorrow, we're going to have some frustrated residents.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Director English, you have some comments or questions?
I do, and thank you, General Manager Briltz, for this report. And I certainly feel sympathetic for those folks who were in tough economic times as a result of the government impacted laws that affected businesses and jobs. So to that extent, I certainly support us providing one final notice. And I would also echo what Naveed Fardanesh said, Director Fardanesh, about doing it on a timing so that folks can come in. So we do this Monday or Tuesday so that folks can come in and pay, and they're not waiting for the weekend to get their water turned back on. I did know that the county got millions of dollars in COVID relief through the stimulus. And I know that there were some programs that were set up so that there was utility relief. Are we providing information to those folks so that they can take advantage of that utility relief funds that were available through the county?
Yeah, we are. We have. I don't know the current status of that program, but I know it was available for both utility relief as well as sort of rent relief if they fell behind. So there have been a number of programs. I will say that many of these folks we've not been able to make personal contact with. We've left door hangers, we've left messages, and not everybody has responded or returned the phone calls. I think this is going to be much harder than it, because of the prohibition on it. This is accumulated for a lot longer period of time. So, like, again, I've got one account that's, well, they're at least 60 days behind, and that's $1,750. And I know they've got more. They're behind more than that, because from 60 days forward, so the prior 2 months is more than likely close to $100 each month, and so they're really like $2,000 behind. So these numbers got real big because they were allowed to go a long time without being shut off, and so it's going to be pretty difficult for some of these folks to resume service.
Great, thank you very much. That answers my question.
Okay. Director Giardini, you have a comment or question?
Just a question. So I understand the tenants could leave and not put a lien on it, but if it was the homeowner missing payment on it, and most likely they're missing their mortgage payment too, wouldn't it go into foreclosure and we could put a lien on it? Maybe that's,
Oh, bless you.
excuse me. I know, bad timing. I would rather have the county be the bad guys than us, I guess, if we could finagle it some way, but I don't know, you're brilliant, you'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
well, the issue really is the tax. There's two liens that are available to the district. One is a tax lien, whereby the amount owed is collected through property taxes and paid to us over the course of the next year through the property tax collection system. And that we're actually very effective with doing that. We do it routinely for a number of things, including late utility bills and some other like things like weed abatement. There's also a property lien that the district has not used historically, but is available, and that's where you'd lien the property like a third or a fourth or whatever, and then we would be paid at the time the property sold if the property doesn't fall into foreclosure by the first mortgage holder. Now, and maybe there's not much risk in that right now, because property values are generally quite high, and hopefully not too many people own owe more than their house or their property is worth. But during times of like recession, when property values are falling, lots of times junior lien holders are never satisfied because the primary lien holder can recoup the property and the junior lien holders are not satisfied when the property changes hands. Our difficulty in the normal course of business, if we wait until next summer to do a tax lien, is that there's a small chance that a property would change hands while this large amount is owed, and essentially eliminating the ability to recoup what is owed on the property, because the new owner wouldn't have been responsible for the amount that's owed. And we could, if we're able to get wind of it and get word to escrow, try to hold back some money or something. But if right now the housing market and whatnot is very hot still. So folks, if they're going to sell, I think they're probably going to be able to pay off their primary mortgage.
Well, the problem with that approach is you have to wait for the lender to do the foreclosure. And you're right, if the lender doesn't foreclose and if they don't become whole, we may not recoup anything. So that's the problem with that approach. I think that these folks have obviously accumulated a large debt to the district because of financial problems related to COVID. And I think the biggest thing that we can do to try and recoup some of these monies owed is by making payment arrangements and really emphasizing our willingness to make some kind of payment arrangements to avoid the shutoff. And even if it's the property owner that's occupying the property, for them to not have a lien placed on their property through the property taxes. So any other comments from directors on this topic? Okay, I'm going to open it up now to members of the public. If members of the public have questions for our general manager on the topics that were just discussed, please feel free to introduce yourself and ask your question. Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and close this item then. Is there any further updates that you had, General Manager Briltz?
No, those were them.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll move now to committee reports. There is a Water Resource Advisory Committee summary in your packet. I don't believe there's any other committee reports in the packet, so I'll open it up to any board members. Director Fardanish, you have a comment?
Yes, I just want to make a quick comment. Tomorrow we have our GSA meeting, and it's going to be an exciting one because it's the last meeting before we submit our plan to the state. So it's the final meeting, and it's going to go through the final revisions, and then it will be submitted to the state. And after that, right away, we actually going to start working our annual report with this for the state, which is due in April. So it's a quick turnaround. And meanwhile, while we're doing our annual report, we will be waiting to hear from the state about our plan that we have submitted. Usually, with at least previously with other jurisdictions, there has been some changes that they have to make. So we expect some revisions and then resubmittal. But the plan is coming along well, and we are on the verge of submitting it soon. So just wanted to share that news with everyone.
That's a tremendous milestone. Director Giardini.
Will that report be available to the public?
Yes, it's on the website currently. Anybody that wants to make comments or anything like that, they're able to do that through the website.
The county's website?
No, it's Atascadero Basin, is a Atascadero Basin website.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Director English, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, and I would be interested in having that come back to us at some point for just a review of what the basin plan involves. If there's some kind of a summary report that the GSA has put together, so that the agencies like Templeton, it will affect, understand what's involved and and know what the solutions are to deal with potential groundwater challenges over time. So I would certainly be in favor of us at least getting some kind of an update or review on that report in the future.
Okay, all right.
And there is also an executive summary of the,
Yeah,
of
I
the
was
plan.
gonna say there is an executive summary. So we could maybe put that on the, once it gets approved, we could put that on the agenda for the committee report or something for next time.
We
Sure.
could, I think that would be appropriate. I think though, Director English, are you suggesting that there be a summary report given to this board for the board's opportunity to provide comment and input?
I think that opportunity's come and gone. I don't know that we have any time to put input. I've been following it on their website and reading about it. However, it would be a good opportunity for our community to know that we're the forum representing Templeton Community Services District, where there's some opportunity to at least know what is going to affect Templeton. So I was looking at some kind of a report in the future, just it doesn't need to be anything elaborate. I know they've done some very good PowerPoints in the past, and there's some good exhibits that might be informational for us. If it's just put in the packet for us reading, that's fine, but I think it might be a good item, educational item for our community to see what that GISA put together.
Okay, I agree. So maybe perhaps for the next committee report for our next meeting, that there be the executive summary included.
Yeah, actually, I may have spoken to you, so I pulled up the website. So just for anyone who's interested, atascaderobasin.com, and then you need to click on the communication portal, and there's a link on the portal to each of the chapters of the plan. So again, www.atascaderobasin.com, click on the communication portal. All of the comment periods are closed. It's now anyone could attend the meeting tomorrow and make further comments, but for technical review, the comment periods have all closed, and all of the GSP sections are available here. This is a pretty significant document. Each chapter is listed with its own link. But it's totally publicly available, and I expect that I tell you what, we can provide after it's approved. If there's going to be like a master link to the document, that might be helpful for all of you to review, and I can get with a board member, Fardonish, to determine, if there's certain sections that we should call attention to for the benefit of the board and the public.
I think that would be helpful, not only for the board members, but for the public as well. So thank you for that information. Any comments, additional comments on this? Okay, I'll open it up for members of the public. If members of the public who are on the call have questions regarding the GSA, please unmute your phone and introduce yourself. Okay, hearing and seeing none. Do we have any other committee updates at this time? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll go to director's reports and our comments. I just want to point out, if you notice in Melissa Johnson's update for staff updates for Park and Recreation, there was a donation made, a very generous donation from Mr. John and Casey Gilmore. And John Gilmore is someone who I've had a couple of correspondence with regarding wanting to build a pool in Templeton where there could be swim meets instead of having his children go to Atascadero, Paso Robles. And he and I had also corresponded about the conditions of the parks. So I shared with him some of the master plan and some of the concepts that were being considered there. And he and Melissa did follow up with him as well, because he was concerned with the maintenance of the parks and some of the soccer fields. But he and his wife made a very generous donation of $10,000 to the Park and Recreation. So I wanted to share that with all of you and to kind of really give some public a shout out for that generous donation. I intend on responding to him and sending him a note of thank you on behalf of the board and the district for that donation. So the other thing I wanted to point out is that there's been a request to have a special meeting of the board and hopefully trying to do that before February 1st. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that having discussed with General Manager Briltz, we may not be able to achieve that because some of it is a financial analysis that's been requested from the fire committee. And with some of the COVID illnesses that are occurring within the staff, the analysis may not be completed by February 1st. So it may then go back to the fire committee for further discussion. So more to come on that. If you've not sent your availability into Carrie, please do so. I know she sent an email asking or giving several dates and asking for board members' availability. So if we get the analysis done, we'll have the special meeting. If we can't get the analysis done, we will take the issues back to the fire committee. So those are the only two things that I wanted to mention to the board at this time. So with that, I'll turn it over to other directors for any updates. Director English.
Yeah, I just had a quick question, and thanks for getting back to the Gilmores regarding their donation. That was a wonderful, thoughtful gift, and we appreciate that. In the past, we've sent out press releases and even done the large checks and some fun stuff like that. But I did have a question regarding the Evers Park Improvement Plan. I see that it's at 95%. Did that 95% include yet the engineer's cost estimates?
Yes, we do have updated cost estimates from the architect.
And then I'm wondering whether or not recent cost escalations and construction cost increases have affected our ability to do what we had wanted to do when we put this all out for design and bid.
I can pull the plans up. I've got a meeting scheduled with Melissa later this week to determine, our next steps going forward. It's going to be close. It's a little more expensive than we had money for at the time, but the concern really is these are still cost estimates, and which isn't to say that I don't believe the cost estimates are accurate, but that doesn't mean we can hire someone to build it for that amount of money. So that's kind of where we stand. We may be recommending some minor revisions. We have, through the committee's advice on its I believe it was a 60% planning stages. We turned some components of the project into bid alternates so that it would allow us to proceed without having all of the work done at the same time.
Yeah, and that was going to be my recommendation, was to put that in a format of having prioritized bid alternates so that we can award certain aspects. What I'd hesitate to see is the whole package being put out and the bids come back where we just couldn't award.
Right,
So,
I think that's what we're trying to avoid. We do not yet have a permitted, this is a little unusual, I shouldn't say it's a little unusual, but the district is able to proceed with water and sewer projects without county approval, but we do not have the ability to issue our own building permits. And so this project does have to go to the county for building permit review. That's probably my next big concern is there's been a number of there's been a lot of turnover at county planning, and I'm just somewhat concerned that delay might impact our construction window. We've designed the project and the construction window to take place in the summer when the park doesn't have a lot of programmed uses, but construction during our program use period is going to be quite difficult.
thank you. My final question is, in that package, did you get any renderings of the play structure? Because TRF is interested in raising money for the play structure. And we'd
Yes,
like
we
to
have
rendering-
designs, we have sample materials with vendors selected and costs for the play equipment. The challenge is the play equipment is part of that potential, not the play equipment, but they've split up the play equipment into the sort of hillside play equipment and kind of flatter play equipment. And the second portion might be a bit alternate, but the key component, or that most visible component, is intended to be a primary item, or
Thank you.
part of the original, part of the main bid packet.
Thank you. That answers my questions.
Okay, Director Giardini, you have your hand up?
Yes, General Manager Brilt slightly touched on it. My question was, what portions of the process is TCSD exempt from? And he said water and sewer. So we're going to need public improvements along the entrance into the park, because we are touching on the road there, plus a grading plan. And if we exceed 10% slope anywhere, the county will require an environmental review with the grading plan. If we do over 1 acre of site disturbance, it requires a land use permit. If we're into a land use permit, it'll be over a year before that land use permit is issued. And so I don't know if it's worth at this time worrying about our cost estimates when we needed to submit it into the county. And you know, an environmental review alone on a grading plan will take over 6 months to work its way through the county. I know we're a CSD. We could probably get John Pashang to help us push it through, maybe. But it's, you know, cost estimates are a little wacko right now if we can't, if we're not going to get our permit. I mean, right now it's taking 6 months to get first plan check back on those building permits. And if it's a land use permit, they're sitting down there for over a year. So just a word to the wise that cost estimates right now probably aren't worth haggling over until you figure out.
And what I'm hearing, Director Giardini, is perhaps that if there's a delay, an excessive amount of time with the permitting through the county, that the cost estimates could exceed what we're getting in cost, or the actual cost could exceed the cost estimates.
Right.
That's the concern you're raising.
You know,
Okay.
unless we have some kind of major crash and all the building industry supplies go down.
Yeah.
But, you know, we don't get cost estimates on the private side right now way into it, because everything's so, because of the delays at the county. So
Yeah, and I think that's a legitimate concern. And I think that's something we're just going to have to manage as we go through the project.
well, I just think that instead of working with the contractor or the people right now about formulating cost estimates, get your plans into the county, submit them into the county. Was that part of the proposal that these people submitted into the county? And get those plans submitted and worry about the cost estimates when they start coming out.
Yeah, they did. That includes plan submittal to the county. My main concern was everything we've designed was all about having this pretty short construction window, and so we don't lose the goal was not to lose a season. We don't have another place to play soccer or another place to play softball. So we don't want to lose one of those seasons. We can relocate the flag football program somewhere else. So we were trying to fit in the construction, the disturbance to the park itself during the break between softball and soccer. So like, you know, June through August. So that was already going to be tight. And it's possible the whole project would just have to slide another year to accommodate permitting.
Right. So my advice would be to get the permits into the county ASAP.
I think that's a legitimate concern. So thank you for those comments. Any members of the public have comments or questions regarding the discussion here regarding the park? And if so, please unmute your phone and introduce yourself. Okay, hearing and seeing none. Any other comments from the other directors under directors' reports and or comments at this time? Okay, just as a heads up regarding tentative agenda items for, this actually should be our January, I'm trying to look at my calendar here. I think it's our February 1st meeting. So for our February 1st meeting, we do have the notice completion budget amendment for the board technology upgrade project, purchasing policy, and Santa Lucia School riparian agency agreement. So those are the 3 items. If there's anything that the board members want to see staff prepare with respect to these 3 items, now is the time to make that known. Otherwise, the staff will prepare what they think this board needs for each of those items. And with that, I think we can adjourn our meeting, and it's 7:58. So thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Good night, all.
Thank you.